Is Silksong too hard? This was a question I posed when I started playing Silksong. Now keep in mind, I hadn't played the first game before. I only say that because I see a lot of people compare it to the first game. But I think one of the first things we need is an operational definition for what too hard means. Quite often I see people say the game is too hard and they're not enjoying it, which is valid. The primary purpose of a game is to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it because the difficulty's too high, there is no shame in deciding not to play it. What bothers me is when people say it's poorly designed because of that. So I think what we need is an operational definition for what is too hard. What we're really saying is that the difficulty is detrimental to the quality and fun of the game. This can be a situation in which the difficulty comes from the game not functioning properly, whether the controls are janky or what have you. Spoiler alert, that's definitely not the case here. This game controls super tight and gives you tools to handle anything. It's just up to you to figure out where to use them. There are also situations in which a game does not give you the tools you need to accomplish the task it has set for you. Once again, this is definitely not one of those games. I've also heard people say this game's difficulty is artificial. It's not. That's not even really a thing. Difficulty is a spectrum, but it either exists or it doesn't. Just because the game is hard for reasons you don't consider to be good reasons does not mean the difficulty is artificial. Another situation would be one where the difficulty curve is bad. What that basically means is the progression of the difficulty is just not good. I want to say this game doesn't have that problem, but it does a little bit. It never felt super pronounced to me, but I could see how people might think that. I also remember a few years ago when the Crash Bandicoot remakes came out and people said it was artificial difficulty, again not a thing. Crash Bandicoot never presented a challenge that could not be overcome with the tools that you had. I feel the same way about Silksong. Both of these series, they issue you a challenge, give you exactly what you need to meet that challenge, and otherwise let you figure it out on your own. Now sometimes limiting the player can be a good way to achieve difficulty. We've all played Resident Evil. Resident Evil's a perfect example. The camera angles that make it hard to see sometimes, limited inventory, really simple shooting mechanics. In some games that would be considered poor design, but they used it to their advantage. I don't believe this game has any of that either. Now let's talk about some complaints I've heard outside of artificial difficulty. I've heard people say, why do all these enemies dodge so much? It's because they don't want you to hit them. It's because they are there to present an obstacle to you. If they just stood still and didn't attack you, they wouldn't be much of an obstacle, would they? People have said that too many enemies do double damage. I kind of half agree with that. I don't think any of the attacks doing double damage is the problem. I think the problem is contact damage doing double damage. Somehow just slightly touching an enemy does as much damage as them hitting you with their full weight. Now Team Cherry cut the environmental damage down to 1 from 2. It seems to me like they could do the same with contact damage, and I feel they should. One of the things we need to understand though is that Hornet is fundamentally different from the Knight. Now I mentioned that I played this game before I played Hollow Knight. I did play Hollow Knight for a while. The Knight is tankier and slower. Hornet is all about skill. So the fact that she takes more damage is kind of balanced by the fact that she's quicker. You are more readily able to escape taking damage entirely. So that's kind of accounted for. That kind of accounts for the fact that the enemies dodge a lot too. You're faster, use it. End of the day, I don't think that Silksong is too difficult. I think it gives you more than the tools you need to deal with the problems in the game. It teaches you as much as it needs to about using those tools, because let's be honest, they're pretty simple, and it just expects you to use those tools correctly. Now, we can look at other games where they'll hand you a certain mechanic and expect you to use it in a certain way, but sometimes they give you just too many options. Like, let's look at a shooting game. You're supposed to hide behind this wall, and you come up to shoot quickly and hide again quickly, but they also give you the ability to fire through walls. What reason would you have to engage with that mechanic if you could just fire through a wall and take everybody out? Silksong does not give you the option to fire through the wall. It gives you an abundance of tools. I don't mean like red tools, I just mean tools in general. And it says, use them. I gave you what you need to figure out how to use it. Now, I'm not going to deny the fact that the game is very difficult, and that's more than a valid reason to say that you don't like it, but it's not a valid reason to say it's an objectively bad game. What would make it a bad game is, well, if they designed it to be a certain thing and it wasn't that thing. They designed this to be a tough game. The difficulty is fair, so logically it was not poorly designed. And I don't want to hear anybody say, well, it's not fair to the people who aren't good at it. That's just like saying, oh, AI art is great for people who have no talent. There's no such thing as talent. There's nobody who is good at a video game the first time they play it. It's not poor design because the minute you pick it up, you can't automatically win. You're supposed to figure it out. If you don't want to do that, go play some cozy games. And that's not a backhanded comment. I mean it. Do what's going to be fun for you. I'm not judging, but the game is not poorly designed because it's too difficult for you. Ve Victus, save awesome. I might even do another playthrough. I really love this game.